Jerry is meeting historian Ken Stavinoa at the Houston Public Library.
Hi, I'm Ken Stavinoa. Very nice to meet you. Should we go to the library? All right.
So, Ken, why would my great-grandfather have come to the States?
So there was a lot of opportunity. Texas, in particular, was growing. They were looking for good people to populate the country, as well as the railroads were looking for people to help them expand.
Yes, because we know he was a railroad foreman.
Well, that makes perfect sense because the 1870s and 1880s were a peak construction period for railroads in Texas. This is from the Galveston newspaper, and this is really about a month before James would have immigrated.
They want to complete the branch from Harwood to Gonzales. So I was born there and lived there in Harwood when I was a baby. Intersecting and controlling the heavy business of a section of county of unsurpassed fertility and being rapidly settled by immigrants of the very best class.
Mass production of steel in the 1880s caused a boom in American railroad construction. More than 6,000 miles were built in Texas alone, and companies were running out of local labor. Immigrants, like James Hall, were tempted over to the United States with the promise of high wages and a piece of their own land. Railroad companies would dispatch recruitment agents to places like the north of England, where there was a plentiful supply of labor. They put advertisements and letters in local newspapers.
This is one of them here, the Liverpool Mercury, and of course it's very small print if you'll look at that passage.
A young man can land with little money and get work at once by taking the first thing that offers. Only he must be the right kind, for we want good men in Texas.
He had a couple of things in his resume that I think would have been very attractive. He had experience with machinery, which of course when you work for the railroad you're surrounded by machinery. And it sounds like he also had some sort of supervisory experience.
Yes. And why would he have come, was it dangerous for the women and children then?
Well, it certainly could be. Obviously, if they're used to a lifestyle in the city where there are provisions, you have water, you have food, you have shelter. Coming to a place like Texas, you didn't automatically have all of those things. Plus, being out in the wilderness, there were other things like disease that were rampant that you wouldn't necessarily experience in the city.
Do you have any kind of way of knowing if he brought his family?
Well, there is actually a shipping list. This is from 14th October of 1882.
Oh, yes. So he did bring, oh, and there's the children. Martha is his wife, and his daughter Clara, and his son James.
Right, and notice that this is their destination.
They went to Luling. Wow. So a lot of my relatives are from Luling and around there, yeah.
So that makes sense that they were coming out to join him.
So how much later was that?
This was 14th October, so it's just a year about after he...
Oh, okay. So he wasn't a cad. Sorry. No, because she's not my great-grandmother.
Okay.
So I was trying to figure out what happened.